Well, I am really happy to bring on today's guest. Sandra Botts is a career strategist with ExecuNet who uses the inside information from her prior experience in retained and contingency executive search to assist executives in career transition. She has worked with such recruiting firms as Winter Wyman Search, Dubin and Lee, and First Call. She has overseen numerous client accounts ranging from startups to multi-billion-dollar conglomerates. I don't get to say that word every day, and has witnessed over 850 executive landings. Sandra facilitates workshops and webinars on the topic of LinkedIn for job seekers and was a featured lecturer on LinkedIn for Hult International Business School's MBA and MA programs job search curriculum. With that, welcome Sandra to the ExecuNet stage. They are all yours.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this because this is a very exciting topic to explore, mainly because storytelling is like the X factor for executives that are in constant demand. And that is really the goal in the new job security, is to be in constant demand. So how we'll do this is we'll explain why storytelling is so important for executives and how to do it in the context of differentiating yourself from the competition and branding for job security. I have actually found with most executives that I talk to that are in transition or looking to be in transition, there's about 3 firsts that I encounter at least one of, if not all of, and almost everybody that I talk to. Number one is this is probably the first search they have ever had to do in their life, as in a job search. You know, they've gone their whole career, they've had past, you know, getting promoted or having past bosses tapping them on the shoulder, headhunters calling them, and the reality is that starts to come to a grinding halt at this level. Also, this is usually the first time an executive's gone to market, and they're not just talent. They're not just a piece of talent that can be molded and trained and to learn something new, but an actual product. And what I mean by that is a product that actually has an ROI that needs to be established for that spend. And the third first is really, this is the first time that someone's gone to market where their experience just doesn't speak for itself. They can't just, my reputation precedes me, if you will, and have everything just work out fine as it's always had in the past. And so what I tend to encounter a lot is a lot of people saying, what is happening here? Is there something wrong with me? Is it just that, you know, is it the economy? What is it? And essentially what it boils down to is the fact that at the executive level, you know, if you look at the org chart, there's just less positions at the top. And, you know, there's one CEO in a company, there's one head of for whatever that thing is. And so because there's less positions and there's the same amount of people, what that means is basically competition is at the height for what they've ever encountered, or essentially supply and demand has never been more not in their favor, I guess is a good way to explain it. If you think of the last time someone tried to persuade you, and you think of that instance right now, the funny thing is you're probably thinking about something that you did not get or did not purchase or did not believe, where the persuasion was unsuccessful because of the simple reason that I use the word persuasion. If it were something that you did move forward with, you probably even weren't even thinking that you were persuaded. At the executive level, there's lots of different stakeholders, and there's lots of different agendas when these positions are getting filled. And they all have different personalities, and they all have different preferences, and they all have different ways that they can be persuaded, if you will. And that's one of the reasons that searches go on and on and on. And that's one of the reasons that they go back to the drawing board and go, scrap all that, what we just said, that's not what we want. But what brings them to consensus, to pull the trigger on somebody, is when they can all accurately fill, no matter of their differences of personalities and agendas and preferences, that this person is actually going to help them meet their goal. I had the privilege of sitting in on a company's final interview. We were down to the final wire with two, and the founders said to me, "So Sandra, you know, which one do you think is the best going in?" I said, "I don't know. There's 6 of one, half dozen of another at this point," until I saw that final interview, and one woman, she came in and she just had her PowerPoint deck, and she just, you know, this is what I do, and then I take it and then I refine the process, and she just went through her whole dissertation of how she does things and the successes that she's had. And all right, and then the second person came in and she just got right into the meat of the matter, and she just said, all right, so tell me what's happening. Well, what you need to do, well, you can't do that first, because what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to bring compliance in, because otherwise you're going to get attacked from this end. And she basically walked them through the whole process. I thought they were going to trap her under heavy furniture or something. I mean, they literally followed her out to the parking lot. It was pretty clear what the choice was going to be. Another one of my strategies to uncover this information is I interview executive landings, and there was one gentleman who had been on the cover of Inc. magazine for the turnaround CEO, and so I was fortunate enough to get a breakfast with him, and I was asking him how he got that role, because it was with, you know, the private equity company that he got the job with, that owned that company at the time was Goldman Sachs, and he had never you know, done a private equity company before. And he said that he went in and first he visited 7 of the different locations and brought in a PowerPoint of what he would do at these 7 to change, to turn things around. And he walked in and he said, you know, just want to let you know, I have this presentation to talk about what I would do to change things. They said, no, we're just going to ask you questions. He said, but they kept staring at his iPad. And then finally he said, show me what you're going to do. Show me. They just couldn't help it. And you see that inbound, that pull, that story, that compelling aspect of how you're going to fix things for me kicked in, and he got the job.
Starting with one of your salient themes, which is you need to be the person who converts that company vision into reality. The question I'm getting from many of our listeners today is, especially if you're an outsider looking in, how can you best determine what that company's vision is?
Well, I guess that depends on what it is you mean by outsider looking in. I mean,
Well, I'm
there's
an
got to be
applicant. I'm
some,
not. Mhm.
yeah, you're not in the company, right?
Correct.
There's got to be some sort of commonality in reality for you to be considered. There's got to be some sort of commonality. Like when people say to me, well, I've just done every industry under the sun. Well, there's some reason that you were a right person in each one of those, and you had some right problem that you solve. And so knowing that industry or knowing that function, for instance, let's say you read something that there's going to be a merger between this company and that company. You specifically were involved in some very large integrations. You can sort of guess ahead of time what those are. And when you lead with that, you may or may not hit the mark. And that's okay, because you're only looking for the responses of the ones where you do hit the mark. And
Okay,
again, you're not just trying to give them what they want to hear, you're looking for that response.
got it.